Are you a man who has diastasis recti or thinks he does? Watch this video and I'll tell you everything that you need to know, specifically for men over 35. Hi, this is Ivana, helping you get fitter, healthier, and stronger as you get older. I haven't done a video about diastasis recti yet, and I wanted to start off with this one aimed at men, primarily because I don't think there's much information out there for men who suffer from diastasis recti. I had it myself, and it was related to my pregnancy, but in the past couple of years, I've actually had 2 male clients, both men over 50, who suffer from diastasis recti. They hadn't heard of it before, and it was something that I identified in them. So I don't think there's a lot of information, and that men might not think that this is something that's a possibility, but it definitely is. I'm gonna tell you what diastasis recti is, the risk factors in men, the exercises and activities that you should be avoiding, and I'm gonna get you started with a couple of exercises to begin healing your diastasis recti. At the end of this video, I'm going to share the important lifestyle modification that you need to make to avoid making your diastasis recti worse. Diastasis recti is a separation of the abdominals at the linea alba. So that's the connective tissue there in the center. So it can separate in various places, but most commonly it's around the belly button. Diastasis recti is most common in women who've had children. However, there are other risk factors that you need to be aware of. Being over 35 is the first risk factor. As we get older, our bodies don't produce as much collagen, so the connective tissue is a little bit weaker. So therefore, you're more likely to have those abdominals separate. Obesity and weight gain is also a risk factor, particularly if you've put on a lot of weight around the belly. That puts pressure on the rectus abdominis, and it means that it's more likely for the connective tissue to separate. And the one that I think applies most to men quite frequently is improper training and unbalanced training. So doing a lot of crunches, doing a lot of planking activity over time can really cause a lot of stress. You're building the rectus abdominis, that's your six-pack muscle, and that's what everyone wants, right? So that's all you're working at the expense of your inner core muscles, which actually help to stabilize your spine. Now, if those rectus abdominis muscles are too strong, then they're going to be pulling everything forward and they're more likely to separate. So the TVA, or the transverse abdominis, is the muscle that you want to focus on when healing your diastasis recti. It's the one that stabilizes and holds everything in place. It supports your lower back particularly. And most people don't train this muscle because, quite frankly, it's a little bit boring. The exercises are not quite as exciting. You don't feel them the same way that you feel crunches. Many people avoid those exercises or don't even know that they exist. It's important to do something about your diastasis recti because it can be a contributor to back pain. It may be the cause of your back pain if you're still searching for one. Over time, it can lead to an abdominal hernia if it's not treated correctly. If it's a very large diastasis, then it may result in the organs bulging out through that hole, and that's definitely not something you want. So speak to your doctor if you do think you have diastasis recti. Now, I don't want you guys to be shy or embarrassed about diastasis recti just because they normally talk about it with respect to women who've had babies. If you start to look around, you're going to notice there are quite a few male fitness models who have a separation in their abdominals. The bodybuilder Ronnie Coleman, 8-time Mr. Olympia, also well known as being one of the strongest bodybuilders. If you look at pictures of him on stage, you'll see that he has quite a prominent diastasis recti, probably from his heavy lifting, because once you get up to the kind of lifts that Ronnie does, it's very difficult to get the abdominal support in there. So heavy lifting, sometimes incorrect technique. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you're a male with diastasis recti, you're in some good company. Anytime you increase the intra-abdominal pressure, you can aggravate the delicate tissue. So if you have diastasis recti, it's important for you to avoid lifting things in the downward position. So you're lifting heavy boxes and you're leaning over, bending over. That can be a big aggravator for diastasis recti. You have to be very careful with those sort of activities, especially in the initial stages, and particularly if you have a large diastasis recti. That also means that exercises like deadlifts and really heavy squats are pretty much out, at least while you're in that aggravated stage over your diastasis recti. I actually re-injured my diastasis recti. I had already pretty much healed it after I had my son, and then I started lifting, doing deadlifts, and I re-aggravated it again. Any sort of crunching action is not a good idea. So stomach crunches, they're not my favorite exercise anyway. Planks as well, you'll want to be avoiding those. So in the downward position where there's a lot of pressure, that can be quite dangerous for diastasis recti. Anything where you're forcibly twisting, so if you think about a bicycle exercise on the ground, that's not going to be an ideal exercise for diastasis recti. The kind of abdominal exercises like V-ups or anything where you're jackknifing your body together and down, definitely avoid those. A lot of yoga exercises aren't a great idea either. So downward dog and upward dog, anytime you're stretching and opening, any sort of backward bend isn't a great idea either. If you want an excuse not to do yoga, I just gave you another one. You can check for diastasis recti by lying down on your back, bending your knees, and then placing your fingers around your belly button level. And then as you gently kind of curl up, you want to see how big the separation is at that level. And also if you have a doming effect or a coning effect that happens along the midline, the linea alba. Diastasis recti generally starts around 2 centimeters of separation. So anything less than that is not really considered DR. And then it can be quite wide for a lot of people. Once you get to a certain point, several centimeters, then you're going to be at a higher risk of developing a hernia. Tissue strength is really important as well for diastasis recti. So even if you do have a separation, but it actually feels quite firm in that area, that's actually what you're aiming for. Sometimes the actual gap will not fully heal. As long as you can build the strength in that area, then you're going to be able to have a lot more strength in the core to be able to do your movements. So now I'm going to show you a couple of exercises to get you started on healing your diastasis recti. We're going to start with the draw-in maneuver. Start this by breathing in. Then you're going to breathe out and pull your belly button in towards the spine very gently. Start this off with 3 sets of 20 seconds, and then you can build your way up to 3 sets of 45 seconds to a minute. The next exercise is the TVA with arms and legs. It's really important to squeeze the TVA throughout this exercise. Breathe in first and then breathe out and pull your belly button towards your spine. You can flatten your lower back a little bit to help you. And you want to maintain the TVA contraction throughout these movements. So as you're alternating the arms and legs, make sure that the TVA is really tight. You're not seeing any movement up and down, and you're not wiggling your hips from side to side. If you find this a bit too challenging, start with just the legs at first, making sure that the TVA is activated throughout the movement and there's no movement at the hips or in your back. I actually have quite a few videos of TVA exercises to help strengthen your core. Transverse abdominis exercises are a key for healing diastasis recti. So really focus on doing those and avoid the other types of abdominal exercises. And the lifestyle modification that I think is really important is watching how you're getting up, particularly getting out of bed. So rather than jackknifing yourself out of bed every morning, you want to roll over onto your side, put one hand down, and then push off gently. That avoids putting the stress on the rectus abdominis, and you're not going to see that doming effect. Whenever you see that doming effect, it means that you're stressing the rectus abdominis and you're causing issues for your diastasis recti. If you learned something in this video, please hit that like button for me. I also want to help get you fitter, healthier, and stronger, so head over to my website, ivanachapman.com. You can pick up a copy of my free ebook. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell, and I look forward to seeing you next week.